Tech Talk Tuesday. Tech Talk Tuesday. Tech Talk Tuesday. Thursday.
This is probably going to be a lot shorter than 10 minutes, but hey, I'm sure you're not going to complain. Welcome to another 10-minute Tech Talk Thursday with me, your host, Michael Weir, the Fortinet NSC 7 Certified Technical Account Manager for Fortinet at Ingram Micro. And today's topic is going to be data leak prevention. So the question with a nice $10 word in it is, how do you stop data exfiltration? Reflecting on the news lately, called blue leaks that contain the personal information of over 250 police departments. Our problem is that there have been more records stolen than people on Earth many times over. In other words, there's been a lot stolen. Solution, of course, is to set up data leak prevention to keep the most vital data from leaving your network. Let's just look at a timeline of a few highlights here. These are some big breaches. And it's worth noting for all these, some of them I'm going to say they were hacked. Hackers just find and exploit vulnerabilities. They're not some super geniuses out there suddenly being able to find things that no one else could find. There's a lot of research involved in things like this, but most of the time what they're doing is just taking a known vulnerability. They're doing some surveillance and some reconnaissance on a network, maybe probing, finding out, hey, this is vulnerable to that known vulnerability. We're going to get in. And some of these I'm going to say is poor security, which can be translated as we didn't have the adequate safeguards in place to prevent known attacks. So let's look at a little bit of history here. So one of the biggest breaches of all time, in fact, I believe it's still tied for the biggest breach of all time, happened in 2013. That was the Yahoo breach. An astounding 3 billion records leaked and put out there onto the dark web. And like I said, that's notable for still being the largest. Another good hack in 2016 was Verizon of 1.5 million records. It's not necessarily notable for the number, but it's notable because Verizon publishes an annual threat report that is considered sort of the standard for the industry. So, pot, kettle, whatever. 2017 was the Equifax hack. Once again, this isn't notable necessarily because it's volume, though 163 billion is nothing to scoff at. What's interesting about it is this is actually 6 separate hacks in 2017, but they were warned by security firms in 2016 that they had serious vulnerabilities, so this was clearly negligent. They settled for $700 million and reformed their practices. Then let's look at a few in 2020. So Instagram, 200 million records hacked. Reason was poor security. An unknown one, likely the U.S. Census Bureau because of the type of records and some of the codes involved, but no one has ever A, claimed responsibility, or B, claimed to have been the victim. This was taken, those 200 million records, because they had an unsecured database. How much dumber can you get than that? And then Marriott, 5.2 million records. They've had a number of leaks over the years. This one was leaked because it was an inside job. So there's a number of different things there. We're seeing just regular hacks. We're seeing things left unsecured, security vulnerabilities. We've seen an inside job. Now, one thing to say about all those is they all could have been caught by data leak prevention. Data leak prevention looking by file, format, type, string, name, location, content, all these things. It doesn't matter how the information is getting out. If you've got strong data leak prevention, as that information goes out, it will be blocked. Doesn't matter if it's an insider trying to send it out, or if it's a leak or a hack or whatever. Now, some people are going to say, well, that's not true. Hackers can blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know that people who are really, really skilled can find a way to get it out still. But in most of these cases, we're talking about attacks of opportunity that end up blowing out of proportion. We're not talking about super hackers or, Fancy Bear or one of those things over in Russia who spend all their time doing this. These are just regular leaks. So real talk about leaks for a second. And these are some of the effects we can talk about. Is there's a lot of new compliances out there. So if you have a leak, there's now a lot of new fines that can happen. And most of these fines are now way easier to apply, and they face way broader situations than old laws used to. Also, reputation. It's never a good idea to be on the news for a breach. People, if you say Yahoo breach, a lot of people out there are going to say, oh yeah, I remember that, even though it was 7 years ago. Those who are involved in technology can still say, oh yeah, I kind of vaguely remember that. And I'm willing to bet you guys can name 2 or 3 or 4 things off the bat who've been hacked. Why don't you put that in the comments down below? Nobody ever comments on my videos. Another one, livelihoods. Is that misspelled? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, hey, another reason to comment. So breaches can really result in things like identity theft, financial loss, which can ruin customer lives. It isn't just some number at stake. If there's something like the Equifax leak that causes identity breaches, the company may have to compensate these people, and these people can have their lives ruined. It's as simple as that. Then last, just plain customers. No one wants to risk losing their livelihood because your security is bad. If they see your name in the headlines or see you're getting fined or something like that, they're going to say, man, I got to think twice about using this company. So, data leak prevention, let's see it in action. All right, so here we are again, logging into my trusty FortiGate 100F. And of course, it's managed by a FortiManager, so we're going to do the exactly smart thing and ignore all of the warnings there. And what we're going to do today is put together the most bone idiot simple data leak prevention profile one can possibly put on. All right, and we're going to have to go into the CLI to do this in some of the later versions. Here used to be in the GUI, but here on 6.4.2 we have to go into the CLI. So we're going to configure ourselves some stuff here. Config DLP. File pattern, edit, we're just going to call it 12 for the heck of it, new entry 12 added. We're going to set ourselves a name of COD, and we are going to configure ourselves some entries. And actually, we're just going to do one entry for now. We're going to say edit, and we're going to call this one COD inside it. Why am I doing that? Well, because the thing I'm going to block is going to be a very obscure file type named COD, because I don't think it's one my wife and I will ever use. So there we've got our type that we're looking for is a type of file, and the file type is a COD file. Next. End. Next. End. Now we're out of that, we're back to our top level. Now we've got to take that, we've got to apply it to a sensor. So we are going to config our DLP sensor, and we'll do the first thing alphabetically if you just hit tab. We're going to go edit COD, new entry COD added, of course. We're going to configure ourselves our filter, edit, and 12, set name, COD, what the heck, and we're going to set our protocols, and we're just going to choose a bunch here. We're going to look at SMTP, POP3, IMAP, and MAPI. Let's just do email basically here. Can I not do MAPI? Oh, right, I gotta switch modes to do MAPI. What the heck, let's just stop there. This is just a sample anyway. Set filter by file type. Set file type, and this is the one we just made up there. 12, and we're going to set action to block. Next, end, next, end. And voila, we configured a DLP sensor. Isn't that easy? That looks great, right? Disconnect ourselves from our CLI. Now, in a normal person's world, we would then apply that to a policy. We're not in a normal person's world here. As you can tell, I'm being very cautious because my wife and I use this all the time. So in the unlikely event we ever do send a COD file, I don't want that thing to be blocked. So we're just going to leave this where it is, okie day. But had I applied it to a policy, everybody who tried to send out a COD file would be blocked. All right, let's have some real talk part 2 here now, and this is a little bit more on the theoretical side, but I think we can count information as currency these days. Why? Because information can be used in the same way that money can be used. So it can be used to bribe, blackmail, extort, reward, punish, bankrupt, persuade, manipulate, or just otherwise influence things in the same way money used to be able to. If we keep money in banks and safes and under armed guards, why are we so lax in information like all those companies were and hundreds of others? Information is also bought and sold by businesses, amassed and monopolized by companies, hoarded by governments, all these other things. It's valued in commerce just like a regular commodity, like oil or something like that. And a commodity exchange is strictly regulated, they're legislated, they're subject to legal and penal codes. Why are we just starting to do that with information now, even though obviously it's acted like a commodity for a very long time? Anyway, call to action. Use data loss prevention to protect sensitive and valuable data for the good of all. If I'm doing business with you, please don't leak my data. Anyway, thanks for watching. Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns, issues you wish to raise as we proceed here? Michael Weir at ingrammicro.com, and there's my work phone number there. Everyone, make sure to go out there and have yourselves a good Thursday.